Hello, internet friends. My name is Bay, and welcome to the Battle for Azeroth beta of the second pass for the Protection Warrior. Yes, still a gnome. It's totally all right. Don't freak out. It's just a gnome. But the Prot Warrior is a Prot Warrior, and I will definitely be putting some points forward about the is it going to be good for Miapow in this video. So, I'm going to go over talent adjustments, spells, and abilities that have been lost or gained, what's been kept from Legion artifacts or legendaries, new graphics, a brief overview of the war mode talent system, and any GCD changes. There will be no true gameplay in this series, so consider this more of a one-man podcast walkthrough primer of what your spec is going to be like going from Legion into the Battle for Azeroth. The entire second pass testing VOD is linked down below in the video description box. So if you want to go watch all of the back and forth and discussion about the Protection Warrior during the second pass, feel free to do so. It's linked down there. And of course, any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts about the Prot Warrior, leave those down in the comments section. That is what it is for on YouTube. And if you enjoy my ramblings here on this platform over on YouTube, then consider hitting the subscribe button to know when new videos come out, or even go one step further, hit that bell icon next to subscribe. That's the new notification button, lets you know when videos are posted. So we're sitting here getting our rubber ducky and Pepe bobbers ready to go fishing for a whole lot. That's a terrible segue. I don't know why I did that. It's fine. Let me bring up my notes. It's a whole bunch of stuff happening here for the Prot Warrior. Let me fix this madness real quick. There we go. During the first pass, if you were there with us, there was a lot of NYIs, or not yet implemented, or not working talents, or dead spaces. And there's been quite a bit of moving around, a little bit of moving and shaken, and new talents have returned, and namely the return of Ignore Pain. And first up, the reversion to the old/current block system. So your mastery is still a critical block, of course, which increases your chance to block by a flat amount, and then your chance to critically block by an amount of your block amount, but you block twice as much, and then of course increases your attack power. So block on the tooltip is very broken. It is going back to the classic, when you block an attack, it is a 30% damage reduction. And then right now, as it has, I have a 28.59% block. Then when I am blocking like that, or of course when I have shield block up, which raises your over amount to 100%, 36.3% of your block chance of when you do block is then a critical block, which is 60% of the damage reduced. Just double the base amount. So it goes 30, 60, and that's it. There's no more armor into block, then no more of that weird shenanigans. That is all been reverted back to the 30-60 rule. Now, only if this tooltip was fixed. It's in my notes to update, because obviously this would mean, what would you do? Would you heal yourself and do damage when you blocked an attack? I have no idea. Just absolutely ridiculous, this block window. Vanguard, this is an interesting one. So Sentinel, Unwavering Sentinel, that's your baseline sort of tuning knob here. Now it's called Vanguard. It's just a 35% stamina amp, and then your armor is increased by 40% of your strength. The parry reduction and then the chance to not be crit, I guess, are just rolled in baseline. These are no longer listed on the tooltip here, which I would assume they're still there. Otherwise, they just took them out for some reason. I don't know what that's about. Shockwave is baseline now for the Protection Warrior, which is quite nice. It is a 2-second stun baseline. So you have the additional control aspect that the Prot Warrior is used to. You always had Shockwave spec for the whole expansion anyway. They just give it to you baseline now. There it is right there. 10-yard frontal cone, 2-second stun, 30-second cooldown, very little damage. So numericals now, some changes to rage and whatnot. Shield Slam is only 15 rage now, down from 20. And then, of course, Devastate, Thunderclap, and Revenge have a 30% chance to reset the cooldown of Shield Slam. But that's a slight tweak. Rage overall is slowing down just a bit, but I mean, I'll go smack target dummies and you'll see that it's not that bad. But overall, all tanks have sort of slowed down a little bit. Just a little bit. Unless you're a Brewmaster Monk, then you're still doing whatever Brewmaster Monks do. Shield block, this is the big one too. Not only does this cost more, it's 30 rage, up from 15. However, it is down from 35 rage from an earlier build. Still 2 charges. The cooldown was also increased to 18 seconds, up from 13 seconds. The duration is reverted back to 6 seconds like it is on live. It was 4 seconds a couple builds ago, which was what? So you're back to 6 seconds, and of course still gives you the 30% shield slam damage with the 2 charges. I just have heavy repercussions, which is the same as it is on live with the shield slam duration extension and the additional damage into shield slam when your shield block is up. That's why the tooltip reads that way. And then ignore pain. The big talking point here. For some weird reason, they just can't make this tooltip not be awkwardly worded to a degree. So it's 40 rage flat, no cooldown. This is one of the GCD changes. It is on the global cooldown, whereas shield block is off the global cooldown. It ignores 50% of incoming damage taken up to this amount. And this amount is roughly, what we could figure out, 4 times your attack power. So this scales with not only your eye level, which will give you strength, which again, your strength also gives you armor. It also, of course, will scale with your mastery, because all tank masteries, of course, give attack power. I have versatility. There it is, attack power. So that's an interesting one. It could just tell you it's an absorb shield, but it's not, because it's only half of the incoming damage goes to your shield. So in this case, if I got hit by 10,000 damage, only 4,866 would actually go into the actual absorb shield, and it just prevents it outright. But at 40 rage, you can only ever put back-to-back ignore pains maybe 3 times with talent builds, which is possible. And of course, it does just stack up to a certain amount. We couldn't really figure out the amount. It's kind of hard to look at because we don't know if versatility is actually being factored into this too, or the database said it's actually 700% of your attack power, which would be 8 times, which is not true. So I don't know. It also could have the whole weapon DPS or attack power damage scaling modifier in there too, because again, the number isn't very consistent. But if you know what it is, let us know down in the comments down below, of course. I just raised it there with the Battle Shout, which also is returning baseline overall to all warriors. The Intercept Snare has been removed. And we talked about how Battle Shout has returned as well. We also have Rallying Cry, which is Commanding Shout renamed, which is still the HP increase. That is now back on the Prot Warrior. And you can see here we also have Intimidating Shout has returned. And I'm standing over here in this section of Borealis because I wanted to go show something real quick. So Intimidating Shout comes back, right, which is nice. And it's just the 90-second cooldown fear. Your target and 5 additional enemies are then feared. Let me see if I can grab some mobs here real quick. I have a talent. Let me see. I think I'm gonna aggro me. Come on. What's going on here? Come here. Let's do this. I ain't got time for games. It's your target plus up to 5 within 8 yards to cower in fear. Now the cower in fear and the 12-second duration is because of a new talent right here called Menace, which adds 4 additional seconds and it makes them cower in fear instead of running around. So this is going to be really strong in Mythic Plus. It will not break on dots from what I've seen, but of course it will break on direct damage. But that is a huge AoE fear and crowd control and CC and interrupt and everything. So that alone is a big move for the Protection Warrior in the Mythic Plus game. You will see that Inspiring Presence was removed, but in light of more CC, again, baseline, Shockwave, and the fear, there are definitely some nice iterations there. My build right now is kind of weird. That's why it looks kind of slow, which is fine. Also, I'm just doing like regular damage to these mobs here. Let me get resets. Wah! There we go. That's a big old shield slam. There we go. Not bad. Yeah, oh, I'm sure I will. So that's one of the big things too. So not only are you getting your attack power amp, you're getting your fear back and your Rallying Cry. It's a lot going on there all of a sudden for the Prot Warrior. Additionally, your baseline cooldown is now Avatar. So it's a 90-second cooldown that lasts for 20 seconds, where you deal 20% increased damage while in the form, removes all roots and snares when you cast it, and it generates 20 rage when cast. There's no more battle cry. Recklessness now replaces that for the Fury Warrior overall. That has been changed and reworked, so you have Avatar as your baseline cooldown. So, additionally, we keep having more things here. We have Last Stand, had a nice tooltip clarification on it that now lists that it heals you for the amount of health it also grants you, which, yeah, sure. Like, that's just nice. On live right now, it just raises your HP. But this is a clarification that it also will heal you for that amount in that regard. And this comes into play with a talent later on as well. We also have Rage Gen. Was slightly tweaked, I believe. It's 2 rage per auto attack and 3 rage per hit received. The rage received has been unchanged. It's every 1 second you're taking damage, regardless of how many targets are around hitting you in the face, you get 3 rage per second. That's it. There's no amount of target caps that change this. It's all just 3 a second while in combat, and then 2 per auto attack. Auto attack crits are also still giving you 2. Prot Warrior's Deep Wounds passive damage from Devastator or Devastate and Revenge also still scales with haste. And then you will see that Victory Rush has been... Where's Victory Rush? There it is. It's been... what did I put here? It's the healing is decreased to 20% from 30%. But this can, of course, be amplified by the fact that you could just take, you know, Impending Victory right here to be a on-demand 15%, lowers the heal by 5% more, but of course it's just a talented on-demand big heal. And because of Last Stand and Commanding Shout, you can amp up your HP a lot and also just gain even more healing in that split second with that. But Victory Rush can and sometimes be really powerful for the Prot Warrior, because if you get any Deep Wounds last tick kills, you just spam a bunch of Victory Rushes. So just a slight tuning knob to it there. But that's all the base core abilities here. Everything else is going to be the same. So T-Clap is, you know, just all that happened here is the snare is 20%. If you haven't seen any of the other tank videos yet, any snare that is only at 20% is not actually going to reduce the overall movement speed of a mob enough that you can actually kite anymore. So you have to actually slow a mob down beyond 20% to actually be able to kite them. Oh, it hurts though. This mob just actually just chunks you. Oh, they ignore pain. Yeah, too bad. Not even close. Easy. Ouch. Dang it. This mob is a boss dummy, basically. I did a bunch of different build tests to see how long I could live against it solo. Got to 44, 45 seconds before I bricked it, or would have. So it's about the same as a Prot Paladin and the Vengeance Demon Hunter. Now, Vengeance Demon Hunter has some caveats to that. It could scale way out of control potentially if you get good enough RNG on a couple things, but it's okay. Same thing with Prot Paladin, right? Or Prot Warrior in that regard, sorry. If you get a lot of good resets on Shield Slave, you can have tons of rage, right? You can just eat your rage up. And of course, you're never using Revenge offensively to burn rage. You're only going to use it when you get the procs for Revenge, at least to save your rage, because of how your rage actually generates overall now. But enough about all that baseline stuff. Talents have seen quite a bit. So I'm going to bring this up right here and bring up your currently live talents. There's a lot of shifting around. I want to go to your new talents first just to get that out of the way, and then we'll just go back on everything else. So you have a couple new ones and the baseline of what's been removed or squished into the main class. So again, Shockwave was removed as a talent because it's baseline now. Warbringer is gone. Inspiring Presence, we walked up earlier. Avatar removed because of talent, because it's baseline. Renew Fury and the Warlord's Challenge. That one kind of stings a little bit. Warlord's Challenge was quite good. And then in place of that, your new talents and some of the moving around here is Punish. This is Shield Slam, deals 20% increased damage. That does stack, of course, with heavy repercussions. and reduces enemies' damage against you by a flat 3% for 9 seconds. So it's sort of a... what's that ability that the Guardians Druid have called? I have to actually go look, because now I can't remember. I just thought of this, and it didn't... Yeah, Pulverize. There we go. So it's a bit like Pulverize for the Prot Warrior. It's on your main ability. So that's fine. It's also like a DPS and defensive at the same time. The whole row is, right? Because Impending Victory is obviously a little bit of on-demand damage and, of course, healing. And Into the Fray moves way up here. I'll go over Into the Fray a little bit, though. You have Dragon Roar. This moved over here. This is a builder for both Prot and Fury, and also a pretty good substantial damage chunk, as well as a 50% snare. Going back to the whole snare topic again, remember, 20% snare won't snare something enough. You can kite it, but this obviously will. So Dragon Roar is there, and again, building rage with other abilities is actually really important and helpful for how the Prot Warrior feels now, just because of how everything's been slowed down a little bit, and you're gonna have less haste at max level to begin with. So Dragon Roar comes over here. You have Unstoppable Force next to it, which is that Avatar will increase the damage of T-Clap by double, 100% more, and reduces cooldown by half. So it gives you a bit more of a burst window inside Avatar, specifically in the sort of AoE category, continuous AoE category with your Thunderclap, which is pretty nice. You can, of course, combine that with Crackling Thunder as well, like I have here. And then Best Served Cold stays right here as that Revenge gets more damage up to a 25% cap. So that's sort of your DPS-ish kind of tier, right? All of these do, of course, give you threat because of, remember, threat's been cut down from 10 times damage to 4 times damage. So properly doing burst threat on new, dungeon pulls or whatever, or even on bosses can definitely help. Obviously, Best Served Cold is going to give you a whole bunch of damage on packs of 4 or 5. So obviously all the time, depending on how well you dodge. Then Unstoppable Forces burst, and then Dragon's Roar is rotational utility and a builder. Other than that, the only other new talent was Menace, which I already went over at the beginning of the stream here. So that's the extra 4 seconds on your Intimidating Shout, and instead of them running, because running and being feared would be bad for a dungeon, they now just stand still. Even if it breaks on other people's damage, still a huge AoE interrupt. It's quite nice. Next down here, you have your Stormbolt moves move down here. It's a 4-second stun. And then Rumbling Earth is what you sort of had on Shockwave before. So Rumbling Earth is if your Shockwave strikes at least 3 targets, its cooldown will be reduced by 10 seconds. I don't even use tomes anymore. This place actually is a rest area finally. I didn't realize that, but so you can have a pretty nice sort of burst control window, getting your cooldown reduced on both Thunderclap and Shockwave to do a whole bunch of AoE damage. Is in this window anyway, if that works out and you want to do that. Lots of Thunderclap spam feels pretty good though. There we go. And then again, we're back to another 20-second cooldown Shockwave there. So can do pretty good. Obviously, you have to fight for aggro a little bit more aggressively in BFA. So doing your damage properly, or having your build for doing damage properly while still staying alive. Obviously, that comes first. And then that obviously looks like it's a mini game you can definitely play with Prot Warrior. Always did, right? Once you can survive anything, then you don't have to worry about getting chunked. So outside of that, updated talents now. Back up here to punish Impending Victory. Into the Fray. This has a fantastic quality of life. So it's the whole like no haste or low haste early on in the expansion. This could definitely help out with the whole rotation there. You'll gain 3% haste for each enemy or ally within 10 yards up to 15%. So if you are, and here's like just a show, if I go right over here, I have 15% extra haste. Here is the 4%. Yeah, so you can see where 10 yards goes, but right here. So for my little gnome body over there is about 10 yards. Draw a circle around that. So if you have a couple melee with you, of course, a melee healer perchance, like a monk or a paladin, then you've got, any other mobs in a dungeon, you're going to always have this active almost all of the time. And just overall haste is very, very powerful for the Prot Warrior, just because it works with CDR on Shield Slam, obviously, which is your main rage builder. And then, of course, increases your auto attacks, give you rage. And then, of course, lowers other GCDs like your well, your overall GCD, but lowers your cooldown for shield block. So Into the Fray, really nice quality of life update there for sure. Devastator, I have that talented right now. Wanted to go down to this because this is a bit of a contentious point here, or at least this is another one that stings a bit. This replaces Devastate, of course. You've seen this whole video. It's your auto attacks will deal additional physical damage, and they have a 20% chance to reset the remaining cooldown of Shield Slam. So again, auto attack swinging faster with Into the Fray stacked up, it's going to give you more potential Shield Slams, but no longer does Devastator generate its own rage. So you have to just get resets through Thunderclaps, through proc revenge, through offensive revenge, then of course through the autos to actually get your Shield Slam to give you more rage. They just moved all the rage into getting the procs now. No longer are you getting the free rage on the auto attack, which is, again, that kind of stings. This competes down here in another one of the sort of DPS hybrid utility defensive rows where Vengeance remains, the Ignore Pain rage cost is reduced for your next Revenge, and then Revenge reduces the next rage cost of your next Ignore Pain at 33%. It's 35% on live, just a small tuning number there. But Vengeance could see a lot of use. I mean, Vengeance and Best of Cold are going to be really strong together. And then you can combine that with Never Surrender or Indomitable, which we'll go over after this row. And then Booming Voice. I didn't bring this up at the beginning. I sort of skipped over that one a little bit directly. So, this one is crazy. Booming Voice, which we all use on live right now, or at least many of us, right? I have a prop warrior, done a lot of tanking before on it. Booming Voice is the 40 rage whenever you demo shout. And then, of course, increases your damage done to the targets affected by your demo shout. But Bae, why didn't you go over demo shout earlier? I mean, has it changed? It's a 45-second base cooldown now. And it's 90 seconds on live. And it's still a 20% damage reduction on the enemies for 8 seconds. And yes, anger management still exists and still lowers the cooldown of demo shout. I cannot see times when this combination isn't going to be really strong. But at the same time, depending on what you're doing, Booming Voice with Demo Shout actually feels an anger management in this regard because of Ignore Pain is the way you can actually do 3 Ignore Pains in a row. A lot of potential for magic damage. You can still do Spell Reflect. Spell Reflect still has the damage reduction when you actually Spell Reflect. That's still there. But Ignore Pain helping you get not super chunked by magic damage and having so much more demo shout uptime would be nice in that regard. But I don't know if it's necessarily needed in non-magic damage situations. But that comes down to the encounter style or how you want to play or how you're geared or Azerite traded or whatever, right? So we'll see how that works out. That's a huge one. And that gets even more silly with some PvP talents later on. But Indomitable up here now is just max health, which by itself is fine. Also, it's a pretty huge multiplier because it stacks with Vanguard behind the scenes as well. It's a gigantic health bump, but it's just kind of boring. But maybe a good early expansion when you need some more effective health, and then it kind of falls off later. That's sort of fine. Or again, it just helps overall when you just can't get enough rage or you're being kited a bunch. PvP-ish kind of things. Just having more HP works just fine there too. Never Surrender is back at the same way it works on live. So it's the Ignore Pain will prevent up to 100% or double of its base amount, depending on your missing health. So how this works, if you don't know how Never Surrender works, is that when you're at full health, or at like 99.9% health, you have a 0.1% bonus to Never Surrender. And then when you're at 0.1% health, you'll have a 99.9% stronger Never Surrender. So the lower your HP, it's just it's a flat line, right? Just a linear scale. Lower your HP. If you're at half health, you get a 50% stronger Ignore Pain, which is totally fine. Just depends on if you need to use Indomitable for just flat HP or Never Surrender for the larger timed or lower health, larger Ignore Pain shields. No more does Indomitable have some weird like baseline Ignore Pain scaling out of that mumbo jumbo anymore. So now it just depends on what you need to use your Ignore Pain for, which again, Booming Voice is an on-demand Ignore Pain roughly every 45 seconds by itself, but way less than that with anger management. So interesting potential there. And then your last new talent, Bolster. This makes last stand's cooldown reduced by a minute, brings it down to a 2-minute cooldown, and additionally causes you to block all melee attacks during the last stand window, which lasts for quite a while. The last stand lasts for 15 seconds. So it is essentially a full double charge of block and plus 3 seconds for free. So that has a really strong physical damage, and just having more last stands could help you for magic damage too. And again, you can couple that with impending victory, and again with rallying cry, that kind of stuff to give you more HP. But Bolster was this weird like strength amp on the global ability before, but now it's just a huge amp and gives you more last stand up time. So you can chain that together though, and you can go 12 seconds of block and then 15 seconds of last stand, and by then you'll have one more charge of block, so you can block again for another 6 seconds after that. You can sit in the block window for a long period of time, reducing a lot of your physical damage because you'll block every attack for 30%, and then whatever your critical block chance is, in this case it's, what is it, 36.3, right? So 36.3% of whatever your overall block chance goes to. Block actually goes up to whatever it is plus 100%. So when you block, I have 28.59, it just goes up to 128.59. So then, you know, again, your mastery percentage of that is that 36% of that number is your chance to critically block, because you only critically block that many percent of all blocks or whatever. It's just, this switch up could be so much more simply worded. But in the alpha, this was working really awkwardly. It wasn't actually doing the 30-60 because of armor shenanigans, and it wasn't actually increasing, or it was just an absolute mess. Just an absolute mess. But that is all of your talent adjustments overall. So there is a good mix of possibilities here. I like the Bolster super block window. Sounds pretty fun, but booming voice anger management is going to be really silly. So even just trying to do this on this thing right here, let's see if I can't get completely wrecked by it. But just spending your rage, normally let me build some rage so I can actually spend some rage. You're going to really see a pretty wild cooldown reduction. That's what you're used to. Ah, it hurts. How about I do... Oh, I don't have impending victory talented. No, there's another one. I'm dead though. Yeah. Oh, I think Ignore Pain saved me right there at the end. That wasn't even with Never Surrender either. So Never Surrender actually gets some really nice shields, but again, half of the damage still goes right into your face. So you have to time a Never Surrender shield, you know, correctly, otherwise you're still gonna, you know, bite it. That's your talents overall. And while we were talking about the whole booming voice anger management madness, let's go over here to the war mode talent system. Blizzard actually just posted a gigantic war mode talent write-up. So, oh wait, I always do this every time because I do this in the same place. We already went over, never mind. Global cooldown went over already. Avatar is on, Ignore Pain is on, Shield Block is off. Everything else, if it's a major cooldown, it's on. Nothing else has changed. All right. I went over that already. I always jump ahead one more moment because I want to talk about war mode madness, because this is available to put together builds that are active in the open world. So war mode is activated in your capital cities, Orgrimmar and Stormwind, and only turned off, of course, there as well. You get to pick and choose a medallion talent and 3 other talents that are available anywhere in the open world, as well as, of course, arenas, battlegrounds, and PvP islands. But these, and this system gives you 10% more quest XP and killing monster XP, and additional rewards at endgame doing world quests, and then even more bonus honor for killing enemy faction players. And then if you go on a 15+ kill streak, you will be, 10+ kill streak, you get marked on the map in this new bounty system, but you do 15% more damage and healing. Which, if you don't know about the new scaling system, having a multiplier against the whole fact that even level 100 characters aren't going to be one-shot by you because it's all percentage oriented. Oh, the storm cleared up. That having a modifier will definitely help. But anyway, you're also a tank, so your job is normally to be a complete pain in the ass. So pick your medallion talent if you'd like. You can take Warpath here. This is when you land with Heroic Leap. All targets are stunned for 3 seconds. You can combine that, of course, with Bounding Stride, giving you more stuns, which is good. And good Shockwave baseline. Dragon Charge is run at high speeds at a distance in front of you. It's like a line charge there. It's kind of like Flying Dragon Kick for the Windwalker Monk. 20-second cooldown. All enemies in your path will take large amounts of physical damage and be knocked back or interrupted or pushed off cliffs. And then to be even more of a pain in the ass, Morale Killer. This reduces the cooldown of Demoralizing Shout by an additional 30 seconds, and Demo Shout will now reduce the damage enemies deal to all targets, not just you. So yes, Booming Voice, Morale Killer, even for just questing solo with anger management, is quite literally up all the time. Due to the fact that it has a 15-second cooldown in this case, it lasts for 8 seconds, and then every 10 rage you spend brings it down by 1 second. So you can actually just Demo Shout over and over and over again, reducing their damage dealt to your allies by 20%, and then increasing your damage dealt to them by 15% all the time. Of course, you can actually stack that with the tank taunt Oppressor, which is the taunt, and then you auto-attack the target to keep the debuff up, and then if they get by more targets, it stacks up more damage taken on that target. So I wonder if there will actually be tanks in the war mode sort of PvP cycles because of how ridiculous they'll be. If you haven't seen like the Brewmaster Monk stuff where they can stun you from super far away, keep you disoriented if they get lucky with procs, and then kick you like 30 yards away, it's unreal. Vengeance is also just super, super trolly as well. So, but check that out. You can go check out either WoWDB or Wowhead. They have a talent calculator. You can go through all of this and make your own build for PvEing or possibly going around hunting down Horde or Alliance. If you're Horde, maybe hunting down gnomes like this, but be wary if it's this gnome, right? Look at that mustache. Oh, I went to his face. But that's the war mode stuff. So pick and choose, make your own build. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the Protection Warrior, how ridiculous the change, I would say, to Demoralizing Shout is, and just the Booming Voice synergy. But then again, Devastator with Into the Fray is going to be pretty nice. You're going to be shield slamming away all the time. All the GCDs for shield slams and your defensives there. That's Prot Warrior, though. Thank you very much for listening to my rambles yet again. Check out the Fury Warrior video if you haven't, and Arms is coming up next. All, of course, the second passes and the archive for the first pass are down in the description box. Right down there. It's on my channel guide. Additionally, this is almost going to be wrapped up by the time you watch this video. For the first couple of days, we're going to do a huge last bit push over on my Facebook page, where if you're submitting really nice, you take the screenshot. Don't just Google this. We're doing a beta key giveaway that's called I'll Wallpaper That, or I'd Wallpaper That. So going live right now in World of Warcraft somewhere, take an awesome Vista-style screenshot, submit it on my Facebook page on this post, and then you may find yourself with a beta key if you still need one. Even though the pre-patch is coming out soon, that doesn't matter because you still can't do any of the new stuff and see the new things and experience the new game and figure out your leveling path or whatever you like to do. Or spoil yourself, whatever you like to do. But check that out. All my socials are in the description box down below. Thank you all very much for listening and watching to my rambles, and I will see you all in the next BFA Beta Second Pass video.